Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Recently, we asked some people about sharing their New York Times accounts.
My name is Dana. I am a subscriber to the New York Times, but my husband isn't. And it would be really nice to be able to share a recipe or an article or compete with him in Wordle or Connections. Thank you.
Dana, we heard you. Introducing the New York Times Family Subscription. One subscription, up to 4 separate logins for anyone in your life. Find out more at nytimes.com/family.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, September 17th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Showers this morning, steady rain this afternoon. The high just going to be 68. And then tonight and overnight, more rain, low 64. Thursday, we dry out. So you have some morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, high 79. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 61 and cloudy in Scarsdale up in Westchester County, 64 and cloudy in Colts Neck over in New Jersey, and it's 63 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
Neighbors run for cover as bullets fly on the Lower East Side. We get a close-up look at the man who allegedly murdered Charlie Kirk. Mayor Adams says he'll go down as one of the greatest to ever lead New York. What is that horrible stink around Patterson? And a New Jersey man wants you to think hard about the end of your life. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. 2 people shot middle of the day yesterday, Lower East Side. The gunfire about 2:30 in the afternoon. This was East Broadway and Clinton Street. A 63-year-old woman who police say was an innocent bystander just walking by as some dope opened fire. She was hit in the foot. Thank God she's going to be okay by a stray bullet. She was seen crying and sitting on the sidewalk as EMTs tried to help her. Now, doorbell cameras in the area, they caught the gunfire. Yeah, it was a pretty frightening scene. A 21-year-old man believed to be the intended target of the gunman. He was hit in the leg.
I actually left 10 minutes before all this started, so it's crazy how the universe told me to get out of here.
Yeah, that was a neighbor. Both of those people who were shot, they were rushed to Bellevue Hospital, non-life-threatening injuries. Maureen Roberts, she has lived in this neighborhood for years, and she arrived home when she heard those shots being fired.
I got into my apartment and I heard 4 gunshots, really loud. It's kind of scary. A little shook up, a little concerned. You know, I keep hoping and wishing that the neighborhood would change.
Okay, so cops looking for 2 men wearing hoodies who took off from the scene. That shouldn't be too difficult since everybody seems to be wearing a hoodie these days. But the NYPD, no doubt, they'll catch up with these people. No weapons been recovered. No arrests so far. No motive for that shooting that took place middle of the day yesterday. While we're talking awful things, NYPD cops investigating after an argument inside a deli in Brooklyn ended with 1 man being killed. Investigators say the victim is 59-year-old Jerry Hill. He's a known panhandler in the area, and he's been known to be aggressive over the years. Police say he walked into the Royal Deli and Grill on Knickerbocker Avenue in Bushwick about 7 p.m., got into an argument with 2 workers who were there.
I was at the store. I saw the initial argument happen. It was over credit because he owed the store some money and he wasn't paying back and kept asking for stuff. So he got mad that they wouldn't give him the stuff he paid for, so he just chucked it at the employees. The employees got mad and retaliated. They started fighting.
Yeah, so one of those workers grabbed a baton. He hit Hill in the head. So Hill walks out of the store, walks home, loses consciousness, taken to the hospital, and that's where he passes away. So the Brooklyn DA says Hill has 26 prior arrests that span over decades. They include assault, robbery, burglary, criminal possession of a weapon, and of a controlled substance.
His character has always been, he's mean, he doesn't help, he thinks the world owes him something.
He never talks to me. He's pretty friendly. He just kind of sits there and stares.
So detectives have interviewed those bodega workers. They're awaiting an autopsy. So far, the workers have not been charged, which the head of the United Bodegas of America calls the right decision. That's Fernando Mateo, and here he is.
He tried to go behind the counter, and he slugged one of the workers and knocked him out. When his co-worker saw him knocked out on the ground, he took an object and hit him over the head.
So Mateo says those workers had the right to defend themselves in a position where maybe they would have been killed. So neighbors in the neighborhood say, yeah, we know this guy, and it's unfortunate that he's no longer here.
My heart goes out to the guy's family, and, I'm sure this was a horrible accident on behalf of the shop owners, too, and I really hope everybody finds peace through this.
Yeah, so once that autopsy is done, the Brooklyn DA will make a decision on whether to charge those bodega workers. 5:05, let's go out to the campaign for Mayor Adams. He says he's ramping up his re-election campaign, and he says there's no sign that he's going to quit, despite the fact that he is last in every single poll we've seen come out over the last couple of months. I mean, desperately last. But yesterday, he was criticizing us, meaning the media, that we are putting out this story that he's dropping out or that he's meeting with the Trump administration and thinking about taking an offer for a job. He says he's not going anywhere and he's staying in the campaign.
Let me do what I do. When my campaign changed, I would tell y'all when it's changed. But all of these false reports and rumors is undermining my campaign.
Now, the mayor says there's still a long way to go in this race and that his campaign has just started knocking on doors, reminding people of what he's done over the last 4 years. Here's more from Mayor Adams.
I'm going to the Yankee games with the president, and I'm going to Washington, D.C., and I'm dropping out on Friday, and I'm dropping out on Tuesday. Y'all undermining my campaign. You know, I don't think the voters want me out as much as you guys want me out.
Okay. And again, he says he's out there, he's in it to win it, and he's staying until the end.
It's all about communications. We have not done one TV ad, not one mailing. We have just started knocking on doors.
Yeah, well, you better get busy. So coming up after 5:30, we're going to hear from all of the candidates in the race for mayor, and there was some controversial moments that we'll hear about coming up. That's at 5:30. 5:06, murder charges now for a 95-year-old woman with dementia accused of bludgeoning another woman to death inside their Brooklyn nursing home.
95-year-old Galina Smirnova was arrested Tuesday and charged with murder and a weapons count. She's accused of killing another resident at the Seagate Rehabilitation and Nursing Center in Coney Island Sunday. Police say she attacked 89-year-old Nina Kravtsov, repeatedly bashing her head with a wheelchair part. Smirnova is reported to have dementia. Charges against her were not initially expected. Andrew Whitman, NBC News Radio, New York.
WABC News Time 5:09. Governor Hochul says she'll renew her COVID vaccine executive order in light of this new federal mandate that limits access to adults 65 and up and those with chronic conditions.
Here in the state of New York, we actually believe in science. We believe in preventative measures like shots, and that we will not bow down to what the federal government is trying to impose on us.
So the governor getting her COVID shot yesterday at a pharmacy, urging New Yorkers to do the same, despite the FDA in August stripping pharmacists of the right to administer the vaccine without a doctor's prescription.
My job is to protect all New Yorkers, and that's exactly what we're doing. And I want to remind everybody, this is a perfect time of year to go get your COVID shot without interruption. If you're an insurance company who has to cover all subsequent illnesses or hospitalizations, to prevent that hospitalization on the front end is a lot smarter and more cost effective.
Governor saying yesterday that she thinks this is the right time of year to get that COVID shot. 5:10. The man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk being held without bond in Utah. Tyler Robinson appearing at a virtual hearing in Provo yesterday where he was informed the state is seeking the death penalty in his case.
We did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. That was filed by Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray.
That's State Prosecutor Chad Grunader. The 22-year-old Robinson appearing in a green bulletproof vest, nodded as the judge spoke. He never changed his expression, though, as all of the charges against him were read aloud. The Utah County Attorney Jeffrey Gray earlier said that it was a decision, and his decision alone, to seek the death penalty in this case.
Tyler James Robinson intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk.
Now, in Utah, I think if I'm not mistaken, it is one of only just 5 states that allow execution by firing squad if lethal injection is unavailable. Now, we did hear from Tyler Robinson just a brief moment at this hearing yesterday.
State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson. Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Yeah, and that was it. That's all we heard from him. Meanwhile, authorities in Utah say that man, do you remember that man that was initially arrested right after the assassination of Charlie Kirk? There was that senior citizen they grabbed, threw to the ground. Well, authorities in Utah say that man who was arrested after Charlie Kirk was assassinated claimed he fired the shot to help the real shooting suspect escape.
The Utah County Sheriff says 71-year-old George Zinn yelled that he was the shooter to allow the actual suspect to flee. Tyler Robinson was arrested late Thursday and has been charged with aggravated murder for the killing of the conservative activist. Robinson apparently acknowledged Zinn's arrest, telling his roommate in a text message that police had grabbed some crazy old dude. Zinn is being held on charges of obstruction of justice and possession of child sex abuse material. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Okay, so there's been so many stories surrounding Kirk's assassination. People losing their jobs, people saying stupid things, talking about gun violence. Here were some California Democrats yesterday saying the shooting death of Charlie Kirk proves that America has a gun violence problem.
The last several months have provided far too many reminders of the gun violence crisis in America.
That's Senator
today.
Alex Padilla of California urging the head of the FBI to do more to prevent gun violence. FBI Director Kash Patel, he was on the Hill yesterday meeting before senators. This was part of it. He says that there's a priority pointing to advances, he says, in gun background check system. He says since he's taken office, he says the goal is to get reports back to firearm dealers in 15 minutes or less when they do those background checks.
Protecting the public from gun violence while respecting constitutional rights.
Senator reminding the head of the FBI that his agency plays a key role in stopping gun violence.
Ensuring the accuracy of background checks and monitoring trends like machine gun conversion devices and lost or stolen firearms.
Okay, so that was one of the more calm moments between Kash Patel and senators yesterday. We'll get into that in just a moment, but let's stay with this Charlie Kirk story for a moment. The Texas Education Agency says it's investigating nearly 200 reports of public school teachers making crude jokes after the murder of Charlie Kirk. The state's biggest teachers union says their members feel like they have a target on their back right now.
We took an instance that maybe involves a few educators and turned it into a matter that now impacts everybody.
Well, 200 is not a few, but Zeph Capo, he heads the American Federation of Teachers in Texas, which called it a witch hunt. Some firings have been confirmed. Near Houston, a football coach in a school district there terminated for a social media post about Charlie Kirk. Nearby, San Antonio, school district, they say they're taking steps against one of its teachers for doing the same thing.
We're going to say to hell with this and throw their hands up and say, I can go elsewhere. I can do something else.
Yeah, well, that's true. But, I'm just sort of amazed that people will go to social media and write stupid things. But I guess that's what makes social media social media.
It lacks clear definition on what crosses the line and does not.
Yeah, so the teachers union's going to talk about the Constitution and the right for those teachers to say whatever they want. Meanwhile, President Trump, Vice President Vance, they'll both deliver remarks at the memorial service for Charlie Kirk on Sunday.
The Hill reports that both will speak at Sunday service at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Kirk's widow, Erica, will also give remarks, along with Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Kirk was shot and killed during an event at Utah Valley University last week, and 22-year-old Utah resident Tyler Robinson has been charged with his murder. I'm Mark Mayfield.
President Trump, he's in the UK. We'll get the latest on that in just a moment. But first, let's head over at 5:15 to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Just some baseball to get to here. Start out in Minnesota. David Bednar held on to get the final 3 outs, and the Yankees narrowly avoided wasting a 9-run lead, ultimately beating the Twins 10-9. Anthony Volpe had 2 hits and an RBI in his return to the starting lineup after getting a cortisone shot in his left shoulder. And Trent Grisham hit a 3-run homer in the second, as every New York starter had a hit, and the Yankees built a 10-1 lead by the second inning. Rookie Cam Schlittler allowed 4 runs, 3 hits, and 5 walks in 4 2/3 innings, but the Yanks held on and lead Houston by a game and a half for the top AL wild card. New York remained 5 games behind first-place Toronto in the AL East. Their bullpen has a 5.49 ERA since the All-Star break. Volpe, in a 2-for-21 slide, made his first start since September 9th. Grisham hit his career-high 31st home run. Ben Rice added 3 hits and drove in a run for New York, which bounced back after losing Monday's series opener 7-0. Mark Leiter Jr. allowed 1 hit in an inning and 2/3 of scoreless work. Up next for the Yankees, Luis Gil will get the start in tonight's finale and rubber game of this series against the Twins. First pitch for Minnesota is scheduled for 7:40. As for the Mets and Queens, Brett Beatty hit a 2-run homer that capped a 5-run first inning for New York, who beat the Padres 8-3 to win consecutive games for the first time in 2 weeks. Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, and Cedric Mullins also went deep as the Mets improved to 4-9 this month. They won their second straight following an 8-game losing streak, their longest since 2018. They remained a game and a half ahead of Arizona in a 4-team race for the final NL wildcard. Brendan Nimmo had an RBI single in the first, and Jeff McNeil delivered a 2-run double, while struggling lefty Sean Manaea, serving in a piggyback role behind Clay Holmes, allowed 1 run in 5 innings of relief for the win. Holmes, completing his first full season as a starter, permitted 3 hits in 4 innings. Up next for the Mets, the lefty David Peterson will get the start in tonight's middle game of this 3-game set against San Diego. First pitch from Queens is scheduled for 7:10. That's your sports, Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:18. President Trump, he's in the UK today for an official state visit. But before he left yesterday, he spoke with reporters outside the White House on a number of topics, including a deal that will save TikTok in the U.S. I'm pretty damn excited about that.
I've reached a deal with China. I'm going to speak to President Xi on Friday to confirm everything up. We made a very good trade deal, and I hope good for both countries, but a very different deal than they'd made in the past.
Now, he did not provide a whole lot of details, but he says a group of big companies want to buy TikTok's U.S. operation.
The kids wanted it so badly. I had parents calling me up. They don't want it for themselves. They want it for their kids. They say, if I don't get it done, they're in big trouble with their kids.
I want it for me, but for my kids too.
We'll be announcing that. We have a group of very big companies that want to buy it.
And then the president also asked about, as he was getting ready to jet out of the U.S., so he was asked if he had a message for Venezuela's president, Maduro, after the U.S. military blew up a ship full of drugs that was leaving Venezuela.
I would say this right away: stop sending Tren de Aragua into the United States. Stop sending drugs into the United States. We knocked off actually 3 boats, not 2, but you saw 2. I would say to him very strongly, stop sending people from your prisons into our country. They're sending their prisoners. They've done that already.
Yeah, no doubt we'll hear more from the president as he tours around the UK today. 5:20. Down in Washington, FBI Director Kash Patel appearing before a Senate panel yesterday as leadership of the agency is reportedly under fire over the Charlie Kirk investigation. He spoke about the probe in his opening statement, saying the FBI works by and for the American people.
It's that mission and that ethos that I brought to this investigation and so many others, and that's why that suspect is in custody. We cannot do our job without the American public and credible reporting in the media, and that's why Tyler Robinson is in custody today.
Now, in his opening remarks, Patel also telling lawmakers that the FBI is doing a number of things differently and better under his leadership, including apprehending 4 fugitives that were on the most wanted list.
One of the stats that the American people should thank the FBI the most for is we are on track to have the lowest murder rate in modern American history. The lowest murder rate by double-digit percentages. We have also captured four top 10 fugitives from the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. To put that in perspective, that's the same amount I've captured in 7 months that my predecessor did during the entirety of the Biden administration.
Okay, so he had his opening statements, and then it was the Democrats' turn to go to battle with him, which they did. Patel Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee shouting at one another over subjects that included Charlie Kirk and the Jeffrey Epstein investigations. Here's a little bit of what that sounded like.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
Ouch. That was just one exchange between Patel, California Senator Adam Schiff. There was Cory Booker, the New Jersey senator, going after Patel as well yesterday.
It is my time to address your falsehoods.
You can try all you want
in this country.
to not take responsibility for what you have said.
Sir,
you're making a mockery of this committee.
A lot of it sounded like that yesterday. Now Patel gets the chance to do the same thing all over again today as he goes before the House later this morning. 5:22, federal officials confirming the FBI was investigating the social media accounts tied to that 16-year-old who opened fire at Evergreen High School near Denver before killing himself. That was last week, right at the same time the Charlie Kirk murder was happening. Law enforcement procedural expert James Albee questions why the warning signs discovered weren't reported to local authorities. So they could have known about this guy before he opened fire at the school.
Law enforcement has so many resources that could have been utilized to identify this individual. I don't know why that wasn't done. They should have obtained this information, and they should have got it over to Jefferson County Sheriff's Office.
So apparently this probe began back in July after the Anti-Defamation League flagged threats about a potential mass shooting, but agents were unable to identify the user with no date or location. Now, according to the FBI, lack of identification gave no probable cause for arrest or additional action. The ADL says the teen had been incredibly active on these extremist forums and TikTok accounts promoting white supremacist symbols and violent content.
The assessment could come in several different avenues, whether it's through algorithms, keywords that are being used that's coming up. We've got task force that are out there that are scrolling these websites.
Yeah, so local authorities, they're being blamed for missing some of these opportunities to catch on to this 16-year-old before he carried out his act at the high school last week.
The FBI is going to get hundreds of complaints, on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, if not daily. And we just don't have the resources to be able to act on these as quickly as we'd like to.
Now, 2 students remain hospitalized from that shooting as investigators continue to examine the shooter's motive and whether his parents could face charges in this case. 5:24, down to Florida, the National Hurricane Center tracking 2 Atlantic systems with Gabrielle expected to be born in the central tropical Atlantic in the near future.
But currently, right now, models look to curve that out north of the islands out there, so no threat here to Florida.
That's hurricane specialist Larry Kelly.
Drier air can get into some of these disturbances and disrupt them, so it's something we'll monitor as it moves across the Atlantic.
Yeah, so nothing terrible so far. It's been a quiet hurricane season. Don't want to jinx it just yet, though.
The one in the central tropical Atlantic has about a 90% chance of formation over the next 48 hours, so that one looks like to be our next system.
Yeah, so they're watching that one out in the tropics.
As we move into the later half of September and into October, it's usually climatology for the Caribbean and the Gulf.
Yeah, so the Hurricane Center is saying don't let your guard down just yet since it's been quiet so far. They say that may not be the case over the next coming weeks. 5:25, let's go overseas. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Qatar yesterday after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem. Rubio telling reporters that the U.S. wants to get a Gaza peace deal done, but he's not hopeful that's going to happen.
I think ultimately we would all prefer to see a negotiated end that
leads to all the hostages being released, that leads to Hamas being disarmed and eliminated as a threat. And we think Qatar can play a very key role in that.
The Secretary of State in the Gulf nation of Qatar, which has been serving as this mediator to know how much he wanted them to know yesterday, and that's why he was there, how much the U.S. appreciates its role. But he says he understands officials are upset about Israel's strike last week of Hamas leaders in Qatar. It comes as Israel has launched this expanded ground attack on Gaza City.
We want them to know how much we appreciate and respect all the time and work and effort they put in the past to these negotiations, and we hope they'll re-engage despite everything that's happened. We know they're upset about it.
Yeah, watching that press conference yesterday, it sounded like the Secretary of State was not hopeful that any kind of peace deal could get done in the near future between Hamas and Israel. Meanwhile, the Secretary of State was asked about the U.S. revoking visas for some people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death.
There's no shortage of idiots around the world that have decided it's a great idea to murder someone. We don't want people like that in our country.
Is that hard to understand? I mean, I'm hearing it. But meanwhile, Rubio says canceling the visas for those who celebrate Kirk's death makes sense to him.
Why would we want to allow it to the United States, someone who's in favor of murder? We don't want pro-murder people in America.
Yeah, that was Rubio yesterday. Politics can be a thorny issue just about anywhere, but in the African nation of Zambia, two men are finding out what happens when you turn to witchcraft to try and kill your president.
Zambian Leonard Thiri and Mozambican Justin Kandude have been sentenced to 2 years in prison for attempting to use witchcraft to kill President Hakainde Hichilema. The two were arrested in December with charms, including a live chameleon, and claimed they were traditional healers, but the court found them guilty under Zambia's Witchcraft Act in a case reportedly linked to a fugitive former MP. The magistrate said the law aims to protect the public from fear caused by alleged supernatural threats. The sentence is effective from their arrest. President Hichilema has not commented. Isaac Lucando, Dar es Salaam.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, September 17th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Showers this morning. Then we're going to have just steady rain this afternoon. The high just 68. Tonight and overnight, more rain, low 64, and then we'll dry out for Thursday. Morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, high 79. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. It's 61 and cloudy in Scarsdale up in Westchester County, 64 and cloudy in Colts Neck over in New Jersey, and it's 62 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 539. Let's go out to the campaign for mayor. Mayor Adams insisting yesterday is not giving up on his quest to get reelected despite he's last placed in the polls. A smiling mayor walked into the living room at Gracie Mansion yesterday telling CBS's Marsha Kramer that he's in it to win it. And then he went on to say that he'll go down as one of the greatest mayors of all time.
My legacy is locked in. I'm going to be up there with the LaGuardias.
So are you going to campaign to the end of the cycle?
Yes, I'm going to keep going.
And he says win or lose, he's in it.
I'm going to the Yankee games with the president, and I'm going to Washington, D.C., and I'm dropping out on Friday, and I'm dropping out on Tuesday. Y'all undermining my campaign. You know, I don't think the voters want me out as much as you guys want me out.
Yeah, he's blaming the media for his low poll numbers, and he's really bitter about Mamdani and Mamdani backers. And he relays this story. He says what happened to him when he faced off against some Mamdani supporters outside a church.
Mamdani's supporters, a substantial number of them, are mean people. They're arrogant, they're nasty, they have a total disregard for others. We walked into the church the other day, getting ready to go for service, and they yelled out, F you, yelling across the street.
And now the Mamdani campaign quick to react to that, saying that the mayor is spreading dangerous lies, that none of that actually happened. Then you had Governor Hochul responding to Andrew Cuomo's criticism of her endorsement of Zohran Mamdani. Here she is yesterday.
Endorsing an individual who I think will be a better person to stand up and not be taking assistance or seeking assistance from President Donald Trump.
Following the endorsement, the former governor, Cuomo, says that he did not know Hochul's views were so extreme and that Hochul has not accomplished anything extraordinary. Hochul says she doesn't pay attention to comments like that and that Cuomo is wrong.
Well, he's just wrong on that front. I don't pay attention to comments like that.
And then you had this odd moment, just a bizarre day yesterday. So the Governor Hochul, endorses Zohran Mamdani in that op-ed in the New York Times on Sunday night into Monday. So yesterday, when reporters caught up with Zohran Mamdani, they said, okay, now are you going to endorse Governor Hochul when she runs for re-election next year? And he said, no. He's not ready to endorse anybody. So he did not return the favor. And then he also this week has been doubling down on the fact that if Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, comes here, he will have him arrested because of a warrant that's been issued by the International Criminal Court over his conduct in the war in Gaza. Here is Mamdani again talking about this week.
I would say that Benjamin Netanyahu is a person who is nowhere near unanimously supported by Jewish New Yorkers. And that is an opposition because of the fact that we are speaking about a war criminal.
Now, Governor Hochul had to respond to that because that comment came out after she had endorsed him, and she's a big Israel supporter. Here she was yesterday.
I disagree with that, and I also do not believe the mayor of New York or the NYPD have the legal authority to do so.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true either. But Governor Cuomo also, who's sitting in second place in these polls, said, yeah, Mamdani probably can't do any of that.
I think it's just hyperbolic rhetoric to make the point that he's anti-Israel. We know he's anti-Israel.
Okay, and this all coming after that Marist poll that was released yesterday morning that shows Zohran Mamdani with just a commanding lead over the three other men who want to be mayor. 543. So we told you about this awful story in this nursing home over the weekend. A 95-year-old woman is now facing murder charges after she picked up a piece of a wheelchair part and then just hammered and bludgeoned this 89-year-old woman to death with it. This took place in a nursing home in Coney Island, the Seagate Rehab facility in Coney Island on Sunday. And that 89-year-old woman, we now know who she is. Her name is Nina Kravtsov. And she died after that attack. Well, she was a Holocaust survivor. That's what we're finding out from her daughter. So imagine that you survive and get through the Holocaust to go out of life and at the hands of a fellow person in your senior center who's bludgeoning you to death with a wheelchair part is just, I mean, it's really beyond horrifying. And now we're hearing from Nina's daughter, who says she got the call on Sunday from the rehab center, from the senior citizen home, that her mother had been attacked, and initially thought that when she got the call that maybe her mother had fallen or something like that, but then she found out quickly that that was not the case.
I thought maybe she fell, but then they said, oh, no, that's not it. Your mom is in bad shape.
Yeah, and Kravtsov was taken to Lutheran Hospital in critical condition. Now, her daughter lives in Florida. And so she immediately was going to get on a plane to be by her mother's side, but doctors told her she might not make it. So she had sort of a last phone call with her mother, even though her mother could not respond.
They told me that she would not respond, but they think she could hear. So I told her the final words. I told her I loved her. That happened while I was waiting for the flight. And then as soon as I arrived in New York, they said that she passed.
Yeah. So now we're finding out that Seagate, this senior citizen home, said they're doing their own internal investigation. That, of course, is the NYPD charging the 95-year-old who attacked that 89-year-old. Now we're told that 95-year-old has dementia, but she now faces murder charges. All right, 545. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Ellick.
Thank you, Noam Layden. We start on the diamond here out in Minnesota. David Bednar just held on to get the final 3 outs, and the Yankees narrowly avoided wasting a 9-run lead, ultimately beating the Twins 10-9. Anthony Volpe had 2 hits and an RBI in his return to the starting lineup after getting a cortisone shot in his left shoulder. And then Trent Grisham hit a 3-run homer in the second, as every New York starter had a hit, and the Yankees built a 10 10-1 lead by the second. Rookie Cam Schlittler allowed 4 runs, 3 hits, and 5 walks in 4 2/3 innings, but the Yankees held on and lead Houston now by a game and a half for the top AL wildcard. They remained 5 games back of first place Toronto in the AL East. Their bullpen has a 5.49 ERA since the All-Star break. Volpe in a 2-for-21 slide made his first start since September 9th, and Grisham hit his career-high 31st homer. Ben Rice added 3 hits and drove in a run for New York, which bounced back after losing Monday's series opener 7-0. Mark Leiter Jr. allowed 1 hit in an inning and 2/3 of scoreless work. Up next for the Yankees, Luis Hill will get the start in tonight's finale and rubber game of this series against the Twins. First pitch for Minnesota is scheduled for 7:40. As for the Mets in Queens, Brett Beatty hit a 2-run homer that capped a 5-run first inning for New York, who beat the Padres 8-3 to win consecutive games for the first time in 2 weeks. Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, and Cedric Mullins also went deep as the Mets improved to 4-9 this month. They won their second straight following an 8-game losing streak, their longest since 2018. And they remained a game and a half ahead of Arizona in a 4-team race for the final NL wildcard. Brendan Nimmo had an RBI single in the first, and Jeff McNeil delivered a 2-run double, while struggling lefty Sean Manaea, serving in a piggyback role behind Clay Holmes, allowed 1 run in 5 innings of relief for the win. Holmes, completing his first full season as a starter, permitted 3 hits in 4 innings. Up next for the Mets, the lefty David Peterson will get the start in tonight's middle game of this 3-game set against San Diego. First pitch from Queens is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. That is your sports, Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, yesterday you were talking about that M&M spill out in, where was the town that it was actually in? Somewhere near Hackettstown.
4. Yeah, it was all the way up at Hackettstown.
Yeah. So somebody wrote me who drove by the scene of the M&M spill, and of course I imagined that it was just M&Ms all over the ground and that you could bring a bag and fill it up, but that was not the case. But she did tell me that it did not make sense for anybody to turn around and go in that direction, because from her vantage point when she drove by, it was just fun-size bags of M&Ms. Yeah, so I was like, fun size.
There's no reason to go do that.
No. It's now quicker and easier to get through security at LaGuardia.
That's because electronic gates are now in use at the airport's TSA security checkpoints. Travelers' faces are scanned as they walk through the e-gates, allowing flyers to proceed directly to get their bags screened. You do have to sign up with the secure identity company Clear to use them. The e-gates are already in use at 3 other airports around the country, and they're expected to be installed at JFK Airport as well soon. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 5:51. A final vote expected this morning on whether a proposal for a casino in Times Square moves forward or not. The proposal has been just a total hot button issue in the community, especially among Broadway lovers who worry that they don't want the casino crowd walking through Times Square.
It is very different sitting in front of a slot machine than going to see The Lion King.
If you want to gamble in the theater district, produce a play, produce a musical.
The saying is that the house always wins. So if the house is in our neighborhood, the neighborhood should win too.
Yes, so the casino would be built above the Lion King Theater. That's where it's going to go. And there's been these hearings, and that's what you were hearing a little bit of there, leading up to this vote. And some people say they've been convinced by these hearings that the casinos are a good thing, people who live in the neighborhood.
I think we all know that just taking a PR campaign at face value is dangerous. But having said that, these are a lot of benefits for the community.
The developers, SL Green, they've promised it would bring $7 billion in taxes for the city and state, hundreds of millions in investment into the neighborhood. Rock Nation is a partner in this venture, and the founder, of course, is Jay-Z. He spoke at a hearing last week.
We're not coming to compete with Broadway. We're coming to add. We're coming to be additive. You know, anything that we've done in the past, we've always included the community.
Now, the group that's going to vote this morning is a 6-member community advisory committee for the Caesars Palace proposal, and it needs 4 yes votes to advance to a state panel. Now, that doesn't mean this casino is going to get done, even if it gets through that, because there are 7 other proposals for the New York City area and the state, and the state will award 3 licenses across New York for those casinos. One of those options, of course, being Times Square, as we just told you. Another one being out at Citi Field where the Mets play. 5:53, out to New Jersey, where neighbors along the border of Patterson and Prospect Park have been noticing this odd and unfortunate odor for weeks now. The smell of sewage has crept into homes. It's been lingering for months, and nobody can figure out where it's coming from. Just about everybody who lives along this one street, Hopper Street, telling the similar story. They smell awful smell in and around their homes. It's worse when it's warm outside.
As we come upstairs, and there it is. You can't not smell that. How? It's very strong.
Yeah, so one side of Hopper Street is one of these streets that separates towns. So one side of Hopper Street is Patterson. The other side is Prospect Park. So they have both towns involved trying to figure it out. Patterson, they sent over Department of Public Works workers to investigate the odor last week. After hours of looking around, using every tool available to them, they cannot figure out the source. But the way neighbors describe it is it can be just overwhelming.
This is insane.
It's horrible because nobody should have to live like this. We have to clean with bleach, to get the smell out. We have to use air fresheners.
The smell is so strong, and it gives you headaches.
Yeah, neighbors say they're also worried, is there like a long-term health effect since they don't know what they're being exposed to? They also say they're spending lots of money on cleaners and plumbers to try to remedy the issue, but after several months now, they've kind of just run out of hope. They're hoping they'll bring some people in who can figure out where that smell is coming from, but so far, nothing. Let's go up to the Hudson Valley, where the village of Croton-on-the-Hudson and its police department warning neighbors after two men were stealing letters from a mailbox outside a post office over the weekend. This is this old tale of fishing mail out of those big blue mailboxes and rifling through them looking for checks. And what they do when they find these checks, you have to rifle through a lot of mail to find them, they'll wash them out with some sort of acid solution, rewrite them, and cash them for large sums of money. And the reason I know details about this has happened to me a number of years ago. All of a sudden I had all this money out of my account, and it was from somebody who had done exactly that. So the mailboxes, most of them now have these thin slots that are supposed to make it impossible to go fishing. But people who are trying to steal the mail, they've gotten inventive. So they'll put just the cardboard part of a glue trap that's meant for a rat or a mouse into the slot. And so mail doesn't actually get into the box. It gets stuck on that. They pull it out and they go through the checks. So this has been bad news for people in Croton-on-the-Hudson, and they're being told, if you're going to use the mail, which not a lot of people use anymore, but for the ones who do, they should go inside and use the box inside.
Well, it depends. If I'm in a rush and, I'm doing it for the convenience aspect of it, yeah, I do use that. But now I'll think twice.
Yeah, so they think that a lot of checks were stolen from that mailbox on either September 12th or September 13th. You know that yesterday marked 100 days until Christmas, and some shoppers are already getting a head start.
Retailers are putting Christmas decor on display. Best Buy is even starting flash sales later this month, and Amazon is even teasing its top 100 gift list. However, looming overhead are potential price bumps due to tariffs. Retail expert Stephanie Carls explains the situation to the Today Show.
Consumers are starting earlier, and retailers are having their shipments coming in earlier to avoid any price hikes.
She recommends shopping now for the holidays.
They should definitely start buying now, because shopping early isn't panic. This is power. This is going to give you more control over your budget, your timeline, and of course your peace of mind.
Lisa G, 77 WABC News.
Yeah, it's only September. Come on. 5:57, traffic, transit on the 7s. Here's Joe Nolan.
My daughter-in-law is 3/4 done already with her Christmas shopping.
Come on.
She does it I know. I don't know what she does. She goes out and does it now.
Can you imagine being that organized?
No.
I just can't.
She's crazy organized. It's crazy. But she's, every year she's done by Halloween.
Wow.
Yep.
Good for her.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I don't know. I can't.
I wait till December 24th.
Yeah, I was going to say, somewhere in the middle of December is when I even start to think about it.
Right, exactly.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?